Ahsoka Episode 3, the show about whales.
Yeah, I don't sound like I'm from Wales either, do I?
Croeso I Cymru.
No, space whales.
We have a problem.
A droid problem.
No, whales in space. Those things are meant to be able to travel to another galaxy. Hope they travel faster than that, otherwise by the time they get there, the galaxy will be dead, just like the rest of Star Wars. We do have the best previously on scene ever, though.
I have known many Padawans. Your aptitude for the Force would fall short of them all.
Look how offended she is. Everybody knows it's true. But don't worry about it, because this is Disney with body type ones, and that means we're going to change the rules of the universe just for her. Rationality, reality, those things don't matter anymore, because now we've got the power of belief. If you can see it, you can be it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. But we start with Sabine getting trained. Slowly.
Kise, Kire, Daiki.
No wonder you lost the last battle, love, if that's how fast you swing your lightsaber.
Not bad, but not good.
I knew there was a reason why I like David Tennant. So far, this series has taught us that Sabine is an egotistical, arrogant thief who's good for nothing. It's just that Tennant is the only person who's honest about it.
It's been a while.
I'm not surprised after you ruined your hair, love. You cut it so it'd fit in your helmet, and now it's probably better if you keep it on.
Obviously.
Like, it's clear you haven't held a sword in a long time. But then Ahsoka decides to join the training again. And when you see it, it's like, oh, no wonder Sabine was a terrible Padawan. Ahsoka is just a terrible teacher.
I see you still remember the basics.
Yes, the basics. Don't hold her on the plasma end. That's about all she knows.
Enough to get by.
Barely.
It is the only reason why she's still got two hands, though. Except this is Sabine. She could probably grab the lightsaber and it wouldn't do anything to her anyway. She'd just get a couple of pink marks on her skin, it'll be fine. My skin reflects plasma. But after she's failed the previous training exercise, they now want to step up the difficulty for some reason. Like I said, she's a terrible teacher.
Yang, let's try something else.
Oh no, I'm not certain Lady Wren is ready for that.
I am certain she's not ready for that. I'm surprised she didn't cut her own head off. She's a Mandalorian who can't aim. I'm not sure she's ready for anything.
Your skill with a weapon comes from your Mandalorian upbringing.
Then shouldn't she be good at it? And I think we should remember that for later in the episode. You know, Mandalorians, some of the best warriors in the universe, should be able to aim.
Those skills alone will not be enough to defeat our enemy.
Her skills aren't enough to defeat any enemy.
Learning to wield the Force takes a deeper commitment.
Now, this is the most farcical line of the episode, but you only find out later on. Sabine can't wield the Force. That's why Tennant told her this in the previous episode.
Your aptitude for the Force would fall short of them all.
You can't wield the Force, you don't have any talent for it, you don't have any ability to, you're just a common peasant. So training her to be a Padawan is pointless. Unless, and this is what the show's gonna do, we retcon everything, and now anybody can be a Force user. All you've got to do is believe in yourself. Free yourself from such limitations as reality or rationality, and just believe that anybody can be whatever they want to be.
How?
Well, you become a scriptwriter on Star Wars, and then you lack any talent, but have an ego the size of the moon, and just think that you can destroy everything that came before you.
That's something you'll have to discover.
I think I've already worked it out, love.
According to Hu Yang, I'm the worst candidate to be a Jedi out of every Jedi he's ever known.
That's because every other Jedi he's ever known could use the Force. They didn't need Ahsoka to come along and go, I believe in you! This wasn't an episode of CW's The Flash where he can't do something and someone beams into his ears, I believe in you, Barry, and then he can. That's what we've got here. We've turned Star Wars into a CW show.
You told her that?
Of course he told her that. It was accurate.
It's true.
Do you see the difference in the two people? You've got David Tennant who lives in reality and is logical. I told her this because I don't want the dumb cow wasting her time. And then you've got Ahsoka. Why don't you just lie to her? Tell her she's amazing and she can be a Jedi if she just believes in herself. We wouldn't want to hurt her little fifis.
It doesn't matter.
I think it does.
Everybody thinks it does, except the writer of this pissing show. So rather than having an individual character who's actually different than other people, you're like, no, I'm just going to make him another Jedi. They want to be a Jedi, and so I'm going to make him one.
It doesn't matter.
I think it does.
Agree.
I didn't think I could like David Tennant more than I did in Doctor Who, but at this point in time, I just want him to have his own show, preferably after he's assassinated Ahsoka and Sabine. You bring shame among the Jedi. Either way, Ahsoka gives Sabine a helmet which covers up her face, presumably because it's the only way she can cope with the disgust and shame that she feels looking upon such a peasant. You can't even use the Force, begone, foul creature.
I can't see. How am I supposed to fight?
I don't think it'll make much difference to how you can fight, to be honest. At this point, I think I'm closer to becoming a Jedi. Ahsoka gives her a stick because we can't trust her with anything else.
I want you to see with more than just your eyes.
And Ahsoka talks out of her arse. Now, yes, I get it. With the Force, you can sense everything around you, but Sabine can't use the Force. If we're going to do this scene, we should at least retcon the rules of the universe first, rather than afterwards. What follows next is very easy to summarize, but when I do, bear in mind, in the show this goes on forever. Or maybe that's just how it felt.
Listen to my voice.
She says as she walks towards the robot. We can see her walking towards the robot. She walks towards the robot very slowly. Like an old age pensioner. Give her 2 weeks, she's gonna need a Zimmer frame with wheels on it. She'll get around faster. So she's clearly standing next to the droid.
Do you know where I am?
We can see her on the screen. You're next to the droid. I can see you're next to the droid.
Next to Hu Yang.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm pissing sure. I could see you next to the droid, and then you just cut it. I didn't cut it. That's their cut.
Do you know where I am?
Next to Hu Yang.
Are you sure?
That's the unedited footage. They just teleport her across the other side of the room.
Very funny.
You'd be dead.
Not if I could see you.
I could see her, and it still didn't help. You'd be dead because Ahsoka can apparently teleport across the room. Don't know how she managed that talent. Was it just because she believed in herself hard enough?
Now lower your visor and concentrate.
What they should have told the screenwriters, it might come out better. Just close your eyes and make squiggles. I don't know about monkeys writing Shakespeare. They wouldn't have needed an infinite amount of time to come up with something better than this. For what seems like forever, Ahsoka walks around her and just starts smacking her on the shoulders.
Take in all that is around you.
Sorry, I almost dozed off a bit there. Everything is said as slow as possible. Even the droid looks as if his eyes are closing out of boredom.
Follow my voice.
Look, that is not a guy who's finding it easy to stay awake.
Sense my intention.
Is it to bore me to death? That's the only thing you're about to achieve. But eventually, we get some action. Hope you enjoyed that. That's all you're gonna get. I'm not even joking. That's what this scene is. Just keeps doing that over and over again. Literally the same thing over and over again. She even almost falls over walking backwards. No one's even hitting her. Mandalorians, the greatest warriors in existence. Except whatever this is. She walks around her, slowly, so the audience finds out the greatest challenge of this fight is to stay awake. It's just that over and over again. Pauses, staring at things, padding. It's only like a 28-minute episode. Empty space, dead air. Oh my god, she tapped her shoulder! This is so exciting! Disney saves Star Wars! We just keep repeating that far too often for far too long. The same problem that happened in the previous episodes. No one's learnt yet because they haven't been watching their own TV series. There's supposed to be a bit of, oh, she's learning. But you find out she's not actually learning. It's just because Ahsoka walked in front of her when she was attacking. Yeah, just wave the stick around wildly. That'll do something, love. If you can't use the Force, if you're blind, you have to use your ears. So maybe not going, might be easier to hear where the other person is in the room. Make less noise. But then eventually you get this, oh, she's learning scene. Ahsoka puts a stick behind her and then... she knows. Either that or she just realizes that Ahsoka's been walking around her for the rest of the scene and so probably did it again. Didn't end very well. That was 3 minutes of almost perfect silence and just people walking around swinging swords and grunting. That's 10% of the episode. Of silence, swinging a stick, gripping. Every episode is just Sabine, heavy breathing. We had that in episode 2 in the hospital as well. I don't know whether she's a war victim or stalking me down a phone. Keep that up, love. I'm going to assume one of the directors has got a thing for you.
Anger and frustration are quick to give power.
Ah, yes. That famous dark side emotion. Frustration. Through frustration, your chains are broken.
But they also unbalance you.
That is one thing about you, Ahsoka. You would never let emotion get in the way. That's why your face never moves.
Let's go again.
Oh, please don't. I'm not sure I can take it. Luckily, at that point, we cut away. We go over to the fleet. The generals arrive to speak to the Chancellor.
One of them is Xiono.
Oh no, not a man. Don't worry, I'm sure he'll be portrayed as masculine, stoic, and rational. Not just there to be humiliated. Oh no, what was he doing in here? It's his center of gravity. It's all off. Now, it turns out when she said, is the Chancellor here? He should have gone, no, but she's a hologram somewhere else in the universe, just like everybody else. Although it's almost as if they forgot that they're holograms, because everybody acts as if everybody's in the room. It's a bit weird. But they decide to open up this meeting with senators whose time is presumably very important. They've got stuff to do with some meaningless waffle.
Senators.
Hera, you look well. How's young Jason?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't care.
What are you gonna do next? Compliment her on a handbag?
Fine, Chancellor. In fact, he's on board.
Only thing you could do at this point, which would be entertaining, is if we cut to him in an airlock getting ejected into space, and she's there going, he's fine, he's on board. Guy point, no he isn't, he's just gone past the window.
Somewhere.
Outside.
Causing trouble with Chopper, no doubt.
But after just wasting everybody's time with pointless conversation, which is literally meaningless.
Forgive me, Madam Chancellor, but if we could just hear the General's report.
Finally, the voice of reason. Can you please just shut up and get on with it, love? I've got stuff to do. If he didn't jump in there, the rest of this episode would have been talking about TikTok and shoes.
We're late as it is.
Quite right.
Quite right. I did need you standing next to me to actually make me do some pissing work. So she gives a recap of the previous episode, just in case you hadn't been watching it on a streaming service. If you haven't, I don't blame you at all. And she requests their fleet to go and help her investigate what they found. She also raises concerns about Imperials and their loyalty, to which they have this to say.
We have former Imperials working throughout every level of the New Republic government.
Yeah, it's a bit stupid, isn't it, really? If someone comes to you and goes, I'm worried about these people's loyalty, and you're like, well, that's not a problem. We've got them throughout our entire government. To me, that sounds like it should be a bigger problem, not a lesser one. If you came back and went, well, it's all right. We don't have them in key positions anyway. What harm can they do? You might have a point.
They've all taken an oath of loyalty.
Oh, well, as long as they've promised. The bad guys are always renowned for keeping their promises, aren't they?
Long live the Empire doesn't sound like the kind of loyalty we're looking for.
I don't know, after this show, I'm more willing to support them than you, to be honest. But she tells them about Thrawn and says, I have reason to believe he's alive. No, you don't. You know people are looking for Thrawn, but you don't have any reason to think he's alive. Just because they're looking for him, they don't even know if he's alive.
You are certain of this?
If I could get approval
That's a no. No is the correct answer.
to send a task force to the Denab system, I could find out.
Yeah, give me access to your fleet and I can find out. You should have just gone no. Really, shouldn't you? So then the voice of reason speaks up, and yes, I know he's probably going to be evil because he's got dangly bits. They're setting all this up so, oh, she was right about him all along. She was right to dislike him because he was evil and her woman's intuition found it out. But it doesn't change the fact that he is still the only person in the scene making any sense. All I'm saying is if you want me not to like the bad guys, then you need to make the good guys actually right.
Isn't this just another attempt to gain New Republic resources to find Ezra Bridger?
The Mad Goose Wizard?
Yes, it is. No, it's to find Thrawn! Yes, because you think you'll find Ezra Miller there as well. I mean, personally, if I wanted to find him, I'd just sit in my house with a bottle of booze. He's going to break in eventually. But I understand that might take a longer time when you're dealing on a galaxy-wide scale, rather than just Earth.
Ezra vanished while fighting Thrawn.
No, he vanished because DC didn't want him to damage the Flash movie's reputation anymore.
That could be put to a more practical purpose, helping the people of our fledgling republic.
And once again, he's absolutely right. And there is an opportunity cost that the fleet being with you means the fleet isn't with all these other people doing this guaranteed benefit. You might be able to find something for an unspecified amount of time and an unspecified amount of risk compared to guaranteed benefit. It's a legitimate question. So it's weird when she replies with this.
Were you ever in the war, Senator?
That has nothing to do with this question. You haven't answered it. You haven't even referenced it. Can you provide any proof to give us a reason to provide you with the ships? Because they're already an important business. Have you been in a war? I've been in Nam. You haven't seen what I've seen.
But you have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen what I have seen.
But you haven't seen what I've seen.
No.
Got him. Like, what is that even supposed to be? You weren't in a war. That means that you can't suggest that a fleet might have a more beneficial purpose than to fly off into the outer reaches of space based off nothing. And it doesn't matter whether they actually find anything there. The point is, she didn't come back with an argument.
Just sat back and waited to see who came out on top.
I mean, firstly, it's probably the smart thing to do. Secondly, still doesn't defeat his point, does it? It's like going for a job interview and then when they go, so what experience do you have for this role? And you just going, you're not a multi-billion-dollar corporation, so do you want the job or not? If you want the ships, prove you need them, you stupid cow. Maybe change your hat, you've been wearing the same one for months at this point. Probably needs a wash. Nobody says anything, everybody stares at people. Just so the audience can take in the raw emotion of how much she actually dominated him by bringing up a completely irrelevant point that had nothing to do with the conversation. Why do you even have goggles on to protect your eyes when you're in space? That's what the ship's hull is for. I just like the fashion and they never move. But one of the other senators with dangly bits dives in and goes, look, the Senate doesn't want to get involved in another war. Perfectly reasonable position to have. But you're supposed to think, oh, look, another bloke who's a coward. Imagine not jumping into war.
You act like we have a choice.
All I'm saying is maybe not traveling to another galaxy to find a war might be one of the ways you could avoid a war. They say, look, the Imperial fleet is scattered. They don't even have a leader.
Unless Thrawn returns.
Make your point. General.
Please, if this goes on any longer, I'm gonna need to cut my hair again. Happens very rarely, but the time warp effect of this show is really making it draw closer.
Thrawn is not your typical Imperial officer. He killed friends, people who were like family to me.
What has that got to do with anything? Can we please make a point? Thrawn isn't your typical Imperial officer. Oh, why is that? Well, he's killed my friends. Isn't that what Imperial officers do? They kill people. They go around the galaxy conquering places and putting down rebellions. That involves killing a lot of people. It's like, this one isn't normal. Why? Well, he killed my friends. All the others, they just killed other people's friends, but this one killed mine. And that makes him even more dangerous. This is just a personal, emotional grudge. He says, I'm just trying to stop a war, which is why I need your help. And the very clear, obvious traitor is just going, well, he's dead, who cares?
Ezra Bridger heroically died with him.
You don't know that.
I don't know, but it sounds like you're almost in tears and therefore far too emotional to be making an objective, logical decision with regards to this. So I really don't think we should be paying attention to the woman crying in a corner, hugging her own knees when it comes to matters of war. Oh no, Ezra!
AKA the Bengal Ghouls.
Can't be dead! Hopefully he is, so you'll drop the plot line.
Hera, allow me a moment to speak with my colleagues.
And you're like, oh, well that's easy then, because she's in a room with a load of holograms, so if you need privacy, you can just turn off her room, disconnect her from the holograms, and all you can talk to each other. No? No. They need privacy, so you're going to have to leave. So she walks out of the room, leaving the holograms to... This is what I mean by they're acting as if they're all actually there and not holograms. It's like they intended to film this scene with the actors actually present, but separate. And it turns out they just couldn't all get them together, so just, oh, we'll do holograms. You don't have to send her out like a naughty schoolgirl. You've now just all left the room, and all of those are in their own little rooms talking to each other anyway.
That went well.
Well, it was still more interesting than Ahsoka walking around a room saying nothing, teleporting through space and time. Actually realized that she has already done that once before. No, it's fine, it's fine.
I want to be a Jedi.
Well, you probably can. I mean, anybody apparently can now. Just believe in yourself and open your mind. At least it worked in Stargate for Ascension. They actually built into the law reasons why even though anyone could, everybody doesn't. The problem is in this, you've already said everyone can't and only a few people can, and now you're going back on it.
Yeah, I know you do, Jason.
It's alright, just believe in yourself, Jason.
You did well today.
We're watching the same show.
Then again, you were always a fast learner.
How? We literally had David Tennant saying she was the worst student he'd ever seen. I was like, oh, you were always a good learner. Not compared to every single other person that he's ever met in hundreds of years.
I have known many Padawans. Your aptitude for the Force would fall short of them all.
Can you please stop lying to your Padawan, Ahsoka?
Like you said, weapons, I can handle it.
No, you can't. I've seen you handle weapons. Twice. The first time, you got battered. The next time is coming up, and you're terrible at that as well.
The rest of it, that's a struggle.
Can you imagine going through life, you're like, well, weapons I could do, but every other thing in existence, nah, struggle there. I think it's more likely that if you struggle with everything in life, you're probably not very good with weapons either. You're just comparing it to you being terrible at all the rest.
I was hoping that the urgency of our situation could expedite my training a bit.
How did you think that was going to happen? Oh, well, I thought when danger arrived, I'd just be magically perfect at everything. You've been watching too much Rey, love. You're on a different arc. You start insufferable and then get worse. Your arc is to realize just how truly insufferable you can be.
I'm afraid it doesn't work like that.
I know,
Then why did you hope for it, you daft cow? Oh, I was hoping I'd just be magically good at everything. Doesn't work like that, I know. So why was that your plan then, to just magically improve? It'll just come to me in a dream.
I can't use the Force.
Yes, and that makes you a really terrible Padawan, doesn't it, really? I don't know why you're being trained as a Padawan when you can't use the Force. That's a really stupid thing to do, isn't it? I'm glad the show understands.
I don't feel it.
Yes, because you can't use it. But welcome, as Sabine says the old canon of the universe, and then Ahsoka comes up with some new ones.
Force resides in all living things.
Yes, but that doesn't mean all living things can use it. It's like saying, I wish I could telekinetically control water, and you going, there's water inside of you. But it doesn't mean I can move water with my mind, you idiot. We literally just talk past each other, nothing needs to make sense. It's Ahsoka.
Even you?
What percent of the human body is water? 60% of your body is water. You still can't move it with your mind.
If that's true, then why doesn't everyone use it?
That might be the first sensible thing you've ever said in your life, Sabine.
Talent is a factor.
Of course it is. The ability to control the Force is a factor in whether you can use the Force. I can only assume this is side monitor television and they don't actually want you to think about it. They didn't think about this when they were writing it.
But training and focus are what truly defines someone's success.
Assuming they actually have the power to wield the Force in the first place. If you can't wield it, you can't wield it. This isn't a just believe in yourself, open your mind and anybody can do it kind of scenario. Otherwise, everybody in the universe would be at least trying to because of the immense power they get out of it. But no, just believe in yourself. yourself. You can be anything you want to be. You don't have a body clock, it's fine.
Not everyone can handle the type of discipline it takes to master the ways of the Force.
Not everybody has access to the Force to be able to wield it in the first place, love. And you pulling a cup across the table isn't going to prove any different. It just proves that you have access to... Of course, everything she'll be saying will be true. It's just still a load of nonsense.
Start small.
Oh, is that why everyone's obsessed with Ezra Miller?
AKA the Bengal Ghouls.
I'm going to give this my best.
It doesn't matter what you give it, love. I can't magically control water. It's not because I haven't given it a good enough try. It means that every single person in the universe who can't use the Force, it's simply because they hadn't meditated enough. You have ruined everything with this one scene, congratulations. But she moves to the cockpit to talk to the best character.
So, what do you think of our progress?
She's frustrated.
Oh no, not frustrated. The emotion of the dark side. That's what you said earlier, love. Can't go back on it now.
Well, what you said didn't help.
Yeah, just lie to her to preserve her little feelings.
I only spoke the truth.
Based economy.
She is not an acceptable candidate.
Because she's not a Jedi, because she doesn't have the ability to wield the Force. Because the Jedi couldn't just give you the ability to wield it. They could have done. They would have been training a lot more people than they did.
By their standards.
Standard.
Yeah, because they actually had standards, whereas you think everybody has to be able to do it, which is the removal of standards.
Which were proven over a millennia.
Jedi tradition.
And failed.
He's talking about the training of Jedi, he isn't talking about ruling a universe. They still made a lot of Jedi, whereas you just have somebody who can't even shoot straight and can't wield the Force.
I need her to be herself.
Well, herself can't wield the Force, so why are you training her to be a Jedi? So then we get Sabine, who has essentially been brainwashed into believing a fantasy that she can move things with her mind when she can't. This would be like if Magneto told the X-Men they all had his powers as well, if only they believed in themselves. So she starts trying to pull a cup across a table.
The Force is in all of us.
Doesn't mean you can use it though, does it, love? I'm just trying to pull a bottle of water off a table because I've got 60% water inside me. I believe. I'd get thrown in a padded cell, which actually would be a more entertaining show if they did that. But in the end, eventually Sabine grows up and realizes she can use her hand.
You win this round.
Sabine is such a great Jedi, she got defeated by a cop. Let's make it really challenging for her next time and put Jack Daniels in it. The desire for alcohol just might be what she needs to push her over the edge. But Sabine joins them up front, and the General gives them the news that the fleet isn't going to be with them. Now, the weird thing is, the fleet wouldn't have been any use anyway, when you find out what happens next. She starts telling them that she would have helped them, but the Senate Committee have refused to give them the ships.
But it's not up to me. I must follow the order.
But comms cut off as they enter a new region of space.
All comm transmissions are being jammed.
So the fleet wouldn't have been much use then. Presumably, the General called them the moment they told her no, but it's not as if the fleet could teleport across time and space. They would have had to have communicated with them, got them ready, and then travelled to that location. They're already there, which means that everything that is about to happen would still have happened the exact same way, because there would be no time for the fleet to have got here. Because straight after, Ahsoka tells them to drop from hyperspace, which prompts a question for Sabine, because she doesn't understand what's going on.
Why'd we drop out of hyperspace so far from the planet?
It's a perfectly reasonable question. Not just because the audience don't know. Be like, okay, maybe if we dropped out closer, we could take people by surprise. I can understand it. Until this happens.
Standard Jedi mission protocol when approaching an unknown situation. In order to avoid...
Why are you rolling your eyes and sucking on a lemon? Why did we drop out of hyperspace so far from the planet? So the guy gives you the answer, and this is your response. Utterly insufferable. He shouldn't be answering your question. He should be firing you into space.
Avoid enemy surveillance.
He's still doing this?
Helping you because you're too thick to understand basic procedure. I mean, look at that. Look at that face. I can't believe he's actually answering my questions. This is a guy whose voice is 2 octaves beneath mine. I can't believe he dares even talk to me, even when I specifically ask him for the answer.
Programming.
What, to be helpful and nice? I can't believe they've programmed the droid to actually answer your questions that you asked.
Right.
In any case,
the most annoying character in Star Wars. At least Jar Jar Binks was a Sith Lord. You struggled to pick up a cup of coffee. But after Sabine has acted like a massive arse, Tennant is actually the first one to be useful out of all of them, telling them he's detected a ship on the side of the planet, so they go and investigate. Although at that same time, 6 ships suddenly appear behind them out of nowhere and start to attack. All I'm saying is you would think that 6 ships could take on 1 ship pretty easily. Otherwise, what's the point of the ships? Especially when one of them includes a Force user, historically renowned for being able to sense the weak points and nail perfect shots on ships, so should presumably be doing a lot of damage. 2 Force users, actually. Now, one thing you'll notice about this is they're all on a 2D plane in space. That happens for basically the entire scene. Whoever designed this only seems to be able to think in 2D planes. And at first, you'd be like, well, they came in behind them and trying to catch up with the ship. Okay, fair enough. But they're like that for the entire fight. And those ships are far faster than this one.
Tailgun, please.
On it.
I'm so glad you're all treating this with the sense of urgency it deserves. There's 6 ships attacking us. Tail gun, please. I'm on it. Don't worry, I'll be back there. Give me a minute, I'll be fine. When these other fighters are far faster than you, they can attack you from above, below, and you won't be able to fight them all because you can only shoot behind you. Also, given the dimensions of the ship, as it's a flat plane, would give them more surface area to shoot.
I see you got rid of my presets.
Yeah, your presets. Shall we have a look at what those presets were that she was changing?
Tail gun check-in.
Oh, I'm so glad you managed to change those bars at the bottom from 6 to 3. Your preset's really valuable, love.
I never needed them.
Of course you didn't need them. It was only changing 3 lines at the bottom. But then the enemy commander also makes a stupid mistake because she doesn't understand how space battles work.
2 and 3. Close range and engage.
Why just 2 and 3? We've got 6 ships and 2 wings. Why are only 2 of the ships going in? You're like, oh, well, there's too many ships, so they can't all attack from the same angle. No, this is a 3-dimensional space battle. They can come at them from every angle. You're far faster. You have the power. But instead, it's just these 2 go chasing after the ship while everyone else sits there and does nothing. Much like Sabine herself, actually, she just misses everything. Remember, this is a Mandalorian whose skill with weapons come from her upbringing. Yet she can't aim for crap. The fighters do shoot the ship with their guns, it's just that their lasers don't do anything to it. These fighters are entirely useless. Even when they're shooting you and hitting you, it does nothing to the ship at all.
Hold it steady!
Yeah, it's definitely Ahsoka's fault, that one, wasn't it? What you wanted to do for you? Use the Force to hold the ship still in space? When the enemy ship's moving, it doesn't really matter whether you're moving at all. Also, if your ship is getting shot at by other ships, traveling in a straight line, not generally the best thing for a pilot to do, you know? Might as well get out the cockpit and shoot him herself if that's what's gonna happen.
Learn to anticipate.
Learn to aim. Get good. Scrub would have been my advice.
It's not the time for a lesson!
Now is exactly the time for a lesson because you're trash and you need it. But the ships keep engaging. They keep shooting the ship and hitting it. It does absolutely nothing. She continues to miss everything. And eventually David Tennant goes, look, maybe you need to work together because otherwise we're all going to die. Strangely, the droid is the only one who seems to care about surviving. He's the only one who's got any sense of urgency about him at all. And I'm not being funny, but look how terrible a pilot she is as well. Couldn't even hit a thing on her own. Swerving all over the place. All you gotta do is line up and fire, love. Why are we still lining up behind the energy cannon? They keep overtaking the ship all the time because they're so fast. They can't apparently slow down enough to just stay behind it and fire, which is what you do. If you're not going to accelerate into angles so you can attack them outside the angle of the cannon, you might as well just stay there and swerve behind it shooting it. But nobody seems to care whether this ship survives or not. So Ahsoka says, look, Sabine, tell me what you need me to do. And this is Sabine's master plan.
Move on my signal?
I mean, personally, I don't see how that's going to help you. I can only assume they saw it in some fighter jet tutorial or something. Dive towards the ground! Well, what happens if we do it and there's no ground? I don't know! Just do it anyway. So they fly off towards the planet. The ships just line up behind them in the firing line again. And Ahsoka is lining up the perfect shot. Why? Why not just shoot at them? You're going in a straight line, they're flying at you in a straight line. Why can't you just shoot them? They're right in front of your gun, fire your pissing lasers. But instead, she dives in space, so they dive down in space, which causes the fighter jets to also go down, and now she starts shooting. In space, where there is no ground, there is no difference between this and this. All the ships are in exactly the same position. Why did you want her to dive, and why did you wait until she dived to start firing? Oh, by the way, she misses every shot anyway. Sabine, have you got a master plan? Yes. Oh, sorry, I've missed everybody. Look how many shots she fired and missed all of them.
Missed. I had them, but missed.
Your skill with a weapon comes from your Mandalorian upbringing.
You've still got them. You're still on the exact same angle that you were before. You can't think in 3D space, clearly. Because look, the ship comes down, flattens out. But then the fighter jets do anyway. You're literally now in the same position that you were 2 seconds ago, love. Keep shooting.
Don't worry about it, you'll get another chance.
She's still got a chance. They're right behind her, love, in front of her cannons. I literally think this is just an IQ problem. Whoever wrote this scene cannot comprehend 3D space and the angle of objects compared to other objects. And so they genuinely think that diving in space and leveling out, they can't comprehend that that and that is the same thing in space. But then we get the clip that was released early because they were ever so proud of it. Remember, 6 ships are shooting their ship right now, so you would assume if their lasers weren't crap, they'd be doing a bit of damage, might be a little bit scared. This is Ahsoka, acting.
Don't worry about it, you'll get another chance.
How'd you know you'll get another chance? There's 6 people shooting you, love. It'd be more believable if you're like, oh my god, we're gonna die! You can't hit any of them, you stupid cow! But Ahsoka's got her own plan for these ships. There's 2 fighters flying straight at her.
I'm gonna split them.
Yeah, how are you gonna split them? Are you gonna engage ramming speed and top yourself? Because that's legitimately her plan.
Now!
Why was that your plan? If she smashed into them, you would have had hull breaches and died because you're in space. But no, her plan was literally to hit their ships with her ship, and then hope that they realized she was that stupid and got out of the way. Because for some reason, that makes her able to hit them. Don't ask me why she can hit that one when she couldn't have hit any of the others. I have no idea. At least her excitement is understandable, as it's the first time she's ever hit anything in her entire life. But then the ships continue to chase her. They decide to roll them. All the fighters are directly behind you. You don't actually have a better shooting position than this. They're right there, behind your cannon, in your sights. Oh look, if we turn left, suddenly it's easier to hit things for some reason that no one's quite worked out yet. We turn left, and so for some reason they all lined up perfectly behind us, which wouldn't happen, they just turned left as well. Don't think about it, just accept it, it'll be fine. But at that moment, they see the hyperspace ring.
It is some sort of hyperspace ring.
Yeah, that's what I said, mate.
I'd like to confirm that.
Why do you need to confirm it? It's a big giant ring in space. What do you think it is? Either way, they continue to fly straight at it, with all the ships still flying behind them, shooting them, but their lasers don't do anything. And then they approach the cannons of the hyperspace ring. Things get even more stupid.
I'm surprised you let them get this far.
I don't think she had much choice. Her weapons seemed to be firing candy floss. She could have done more damage if she'd been on the side of the hull punching it.
Stay clear. I shall deal with them.
Yeah, although it's probably going to take more time than it should.
Prepare turbo lasers.
These aren't your ordinary lasers, these are turbo lasers. Have you seen the speed of these things? This is a massive vessel. You get hit by one of these things, you explode. Look at the size of that cat. That's basically the sign of Sabine's ship as it is. Oh, surely these are going to do some damage. Those lasers are so deadly, they've got to get their friends out the way. Possibly because they're scared that Ahsoka blowing up will actually damage their ships. Or maybe just because they're never going to hit her, and so they definitely hit one of the people flying behind her.
The fighters have broken off.
We're flying towards a massive capital ship, and everyone behind us has got out of the way. What could this possibly mean? We could get David Tennant to explain it to you, but you'd probably only roll your eyes anyway, as it's the first time you've come into contact with rational thought and information.
You better get up here.
Yeah, we're about to get into some serious danger. I want you where I can see you to make sure you're not causing any trouble. So the ship starts to fire out of the massive cannons. Oh, don't worry though, they're not going to hit anything. These are supposed to be defensive cannons, and they can't even stop one tiny little ship that's flying straight at them. It's farcical and seems to go on forever.
Manage the deflectors.
Manage the deflectors? What's she going to do? Turn them on? What is there to manage? Yep, they're on. They're still on. Can confirm they're actually active. Mind you, this is Sabine. Giving her busy work's probably the only way you're going to save your own life. So we decide to fly straight at the ring, which is shooting at us in record speed. It's not even moving. They weren't even dodging it. They were going straight at it. There's all these lasers flying straight past them. You would have exploded half an hour ago. Could we stop getting the stormtroopers to fire every single cannon? And if we are going to raise an evil empire, can we please make them aim better than Sabine?
I would never have guessed that.
All the people that are shooting us seem to have an IQ of 4. I would have thought they would have hired at least normal people. They must have one of those policies where they just hire everybody on a checkbox. Turns out the reason the empire fails is it embraces liberal principles. I mean, you're just taking the piss. I don't know how I'm supposed to take this seriously. And the thing is, I know what's coming up. It gets worse. But you're already incredulous by this point, and so by the time that happens, you're just like, oh, of course it does. We're not jumping the shark. We're riding sharks on top of sharks, about 10 deep at this point. Just look how many lasers are getting fired at them, and it does absolutely nothing. Why are your weapons firing candy floss? She's staring at them like, oh, what's happening to our lasers? Are they healing them? Just look at it! How is anybody supposed to take this seriously? But after what seems like an eternity, there is one shining beacon of hope at the end.
Deflectors at 10%.
They're gonna die! Deflectors are out, and what happens when your deflectors go out? The lasers start shooting the hull, so that'll definitely do some damage, surely. So they keep shooting them, and you think, oh, surely that's gonna knock the deflector out. It looks like it almost hit them. No. Until the robot says this.
Scan complete.
Well, they're dead, aren't they? They're definitely dead. Their entire cockpit blew up. They're definitely dead. Please. They're even floating through space with rubble coming behind them as bits fly off their ship. That is not a healthy ship when you got all this crap coming off you. Not only are deflectors gone, but it looks like you've lost any armor plating as well. Strangely, the droid, only person that's damaged, you know. I was thinking any explosion would be with the one made of metal that is the first to die. Yeah, they're all fine. Oh, absolutely fine. It's because metal is weaker than flesh. That's why he got damaged. So Ahsoka comes up with a master plan and tells Sabine she's got to run a diagnostic and fix the ship. Bearing in mind that the ship has half of its hull floating in space. Just run a diagnostic. It'll be fine. You can see how much crap is coming off that ship. I don't think a diagnostic's going to cut it, love. And then the fighters come in to finish the job. And it should be easy because they're floating in space with no defenses. They're literally sitting still. So all you have to do is fly up to them and then stop and just blast them from all sides. Easy. They're dead in space. And because this isn't Earth, you can just hover wherever you want in space by cutting your engines. Because they're not fighting on Earth, and I'm sure they'll remember that.
But we're dead in space. No hyperdrive, no cannons.
But don't worry, Ahsoka's got a plan.
I'm going out there.
I'm sorry. I mean, I am all for Ahsoka just to get ejected out into the void of space. I don't think she'd volunteer, though. So the three of them fly in.
We have them.
They do have them. There's absolutely no way they could mess this up. So they fly up to the ship. Sabine starts being an engineer by connecting two wires together under a desk. Bits of their hull are floating through space, but don't worry, she's got two wires under a console. I'm sure that'll fix it.
I hope you know what you're doing.
You don't seem to know what you're doing. Your hull is floating through space, and you're fiddling with a desk. And don't worry, Ahsoka is now going to walk in space. I mean, it turns out her normal clothes are like a space suit. So all she had to do is put a helmet on over her tentacles. And now she's going to have her lightsabers as shields for the ship. And no, I'm not joking. And it does get worse. However stupid you think this scene's going to be, prepare yourself. I'd love to know who you think you're intimidating. I've got lightsabers in space. I don't care. She's literally standing off against the fighters. All they have to do, split off, take 3 angles, and shoot. There's nothing she can do. They've won.
I see her.
Ignore her. You're going to blow up the ship anyway, and then she'll die. What the pissing hell are you doing? Why didn't you just stop? All you had to do was hover. Just sit there and shoot from all angles. Why are you doing flybys on a ship that can't move, doesn't have any defenses and shields? There's no need for you to keep moving. Just cut your engines. Reverse thrusters. You could shoot forever. It'll be fine. Now, Sabine is still fiddling under the same desk and decides to get mouthy.
The one time I could use your advice.
The one time. You literally asked him a question and he's been honest and open with you and training you. He's been nothing but nice and civil. And you're like, oh, the one time I could use a man, he's not here. Oh. Could we send you out into space as well, please? I mean, I just think it'll vastly improve the show. So then we get this again. They still haven't learned that in space you can just stop your ship and it'll be fine. So for some reason they do another bombing run with lasers. We're not going to shoot the ship. We're going to continue to shoot the Jedi who can deflect it with lightsabers. It's got no shields and no hull armor plating, and we can just blow it up anyway if we just shoot it, but we're not going to bother. No, we're going to shoot at the Jedi for some reason that no one's quite sure about. The Jedi can't survive without a ship. I don't think there's any defending that, and anyone who tries is lying. I'm not surprised you're amazed, love. I mean, that's basically the face of the audience. What has Star Wars turned into? What have you done to it? She thinks Ahsoka's died, whereas I'm just hoping for it. Then it turns out she's just flying through space. Oh, it's fine. It's not as if anyone's going to shoot the ship while I'm up here floating through space with no lightsabers. So she fixes all the engines and stuff because she messed with a table. The ship's coming around to shoot Ahsoka again, but she twists it so her feet touch the wing, and she gets back in the ship. During this, they do decide to actually start shooting the ship again. But despite the fact that it's got no shields, it doesn't do any damage. Those fighters have done literally nothing this entire episode, even though they've been shooting for half of it.
Nice trick. Got any more?
Affirmation! The sisterhood is strong. So after that farce, we're going to have another farce. We're going to continue to shoot the green lasers at it, even though we know full well that those lasers might as well be torch beams. They're not actually doing any damage to the ship, it just helps them see in the dark a bit better. This fight has devolved into essentially cars driving along the road at night with their lights on. So we fly through the clouds and they're chasing them, and it's all basically what you saw before, except now there is actually an up and down. She detects things on the scanners. It's a whale that sounds like Jurassic Park. And so after seeing these massive, magnificent creatures, their first thought is, let's use them as cover so that the evil guys shoot the whales rather than us. Yes, Petter would be proud. Ahsoka's evil, she really is. And we already knew Sabine was evil, so they fly as close to them as they can so that the whales take all the laser damage. mean, that's gotta sting those poor whales. This carries on for a long time, and the music really tries to do some hard work here. But there's no way they could follow up those previous scenes with anything that was actually entertaining, so, whoever scored the music, I feel really sorry for you. It's not your fault. This goes on forever, or maybe that's just how it felt. We're literally just flying through whales at this point. You think, oh no, maybe they get crushed. Hoping they may get crushed. Unfortunately, they escape, and they manage to lose them among one of their tails. The enemies go the wrong way and can't find them anymore. Does it matter? Your lasers weren't going to kill them anyway. You could shoot them all day, you're not going to do any damage with those things. They need an upgrade. But they fly down to the surface. David Tennant returns, drastically raising the average IQ in the room. They land in the forest, cut the power to the ship, and turn off Tennant as well. I guess that IQ boost didn't really last very long, did it? After a while, they turn him back on, and I'm like, yes, it was pointless to turn it all off, wasn't it really? But like, we've got to find out how they lose him. He starts analyzing his scan of the ship.
Are you alright?
Hopefully not. Maybe she took damage from the same thing that took out the droid.
Haven't seen those creatures since the day Ezra
The Mad Goose Wizard
disappeared.
Well, she didn't say yes, so there's still hope. But he finds out it's a hyperspace ring, which is what he thought it was when he first saw it.
It is some sort of hyperspace ring.
We learned nothing after all of that entire fight and almost dying.
So it is a hyperspace ring.
Yeah, like you both said it was right at the start, 15 minutes ago.
But I have never seen one built on this scale before.
You also could have worked out its scale from the distance as well. You are a robot. He says this is a massive ship. It can go across galaxies. The worst stories, ancient legends of people having hyperspace lanes between galaxies. If they saw space whales, they followed their migration patterns.
Like the ones we just saw.
Really? When?
Ta-da! Oh, we're looking at each other because we're so smug. We found the way. And then we cut over to this guy who just says, they're in the forest. Go and find them. Yeah, he had a really big part in this episode. I wonder if he got paid $9 grand for that because it is a speaking role. Starvation wages, eh? And I have to say, I have no idea what I just watched, but I wish I hadn't. What happened in the episode? Nothing! David Tennant was just hitting her with truth bomb after truth bomb. And she's, oh man, I can't believe you're actually being honest with me about how disgusting of a person I am. It's like, yeah, have you ever considered changing? But on top of that, we had her training, which she's trash at. We had her firing guns, which she's trash at. And then we had Ahsoka in space fighting starships with lightsabers. And nobody, not a single person throughout the entire fight realized we're in space, which means we have different rules of physics. We don't have to keep flying past you. We can just stop and hover and shoot you because you're dead in space. And you wouldn't be able to stop us. Nothing made sense, and then it got worse. Congratulations, Ahsoka, on making the worst episode of Star Wars that I've seen, which is impressive considering the first two were so boring. But this, I don't even know how to describe this. Episodes 7 and 8 were so bad, I never even bothered to watch 9. They were just boring trash. But you with Ahsoka really just went, hey, hold my beer. And it's kind of sad because I think it at least feels Star Wars. It's just a shame it was created by people who lack all talent. And as for your retcon of everybody can be a Jedi now, no they can't, because if they could be, they would have been, because everybody would want to be, and they'd be everywhere. If everybody's special, no one is. And you've managed to downplay basically every Force user throughout all of time, or rather humiliate everybody who isn't a Force user, because they could have been so powerful, they just couldn't be bothered to try. I can't believe you did a retcon that massive in an episode of Ahsoka, and thought, oh, this will be fun. Oh, they'll swallow this down because they swallowed the rest. But hey, I suppose you got 14 million views for your first episode. We're so proud everyone can join us on this moment of empowerment as we travel around the universe. I have to say, how many people are still left? And how many people are going to be left by the finale? So, because whatever that number is, Kathleen, I hope you're really happy with it. Because you deserve every single viewer. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.